I'm Dylan Bowden.
I'm Ryan Betson.
Tear your tickets, take your seats. It's time for PopCorn.
Session start every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on YouTube and all podcast services around the world. If you want to join that conversation, head over to facebook.com/thepopculturists and have a chat with their Facebook group as well. The new, finally released website, thepopculturists.com. Go there, see what we have to offer. If you really, really like what we do, head to patreon.com/thepopculturists. There might be a tier there that interests you.
So, the little movie I like to call Thor Ragnarok has come out.
Ragnarok.
Oh,
nice.
Ragnarok and roll from the
Ragnarok and Todd.
So, Thor Ragnarok is the 17th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the third Thor movie in the Thor trilogy, unless they decide to do more. It's directed this time around by Taika Waititi. So he is a New Zealand filmmaker who directed Boy and Eagle vs. Shark and also What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People. And his background is primarily in comedies. Did a couple of Flight of the Conchord episodes as well.
Yeah, because Eagle vs. Shark had
Jermaine Clement.
Yeah,
and he also co-directed What We Do in the Shadows and starred in it. And this time around, we see Thor, again played by Chris Hemsworth, going up against Hela, who is the goddess of death, and
the goddess of death, Kate Blanchett,
and she comes to rain hell upon Asgard, and it's up to Thor to take her on, but he is taken away and stuck on a planet called Sakaar, where he's shaved of his hair and is thrown into a gladiatorial battle against the Hulk, and has to get off this planet to get back home to save the day. And that is the plot of Thor Ragnarok.
No, I haven't seen it. I'm with that and the babies, and it's just like, it's really difficult to find time to go to the movies, and it's busy season for games, so we're playing a ton of games. So Dylan, what I want you to do is I want you to either A, convince me, or B, remind me why I shouldn't go see this movie.
Oh, well, the good things are only goes for 2.5 hours. Only cost $10. Cinema's only like 10-minute drive away.
Yeah, that's true. It's very close.
There's some pretty good reasons.
Yeah.
It's playing in the VMAX big screen. I think it's in 3D, but I don't think they do much 3D out this way.
No, 3D is very minimal here, which is nice.
And you can go to gold class. You can get.
No, I might be banking my gold class for like Star Wars.
Yeah, you could do Star Wars as well. Yeah, those are some good reasons. I think those are all valid reasons.
Well, let's break down the movie for me. Give me some review action.
Okay, so the first Thor was more of a kind of like Shakespearean tragedy with the brothers Loki and Thor breaking apart. Thor getting thrown out of Asgard and trying to learn, what it means to be a hero. So it was very played straight. A couple of laughs.
With some sillies in there.
Some sillies in there. Some fish out of water. Second one was directed by Alan Taylor from Game of Thrones fame. And that was more of a sword and sandals kind of gritty.
And poops.
And didn't go down too well. This one is like a straight out comedy. Nothing but comedy. Like every second of the movie is looking for an opportunity to be funny.
Okay. Is that a jarring tonal shift compared to the other two?
If it was like the first thing, if I went into it knowing nothing and having seen nothing and no trailers, the impact would have been better. Like just to see how completely tonally different it is, how fun it is, how funny it is, the kind of take that they've got on the characters. But because we've had the trailers for like months and months and months, it's kind of, that's already set in, so that surprise isn't there anymore. But it is a fun movie. It is different. There were these shorts that came out with Thor and Daryl, and it was where Thor was hanging out in Australia with Daryl, who works in a office, and they were like bunking together in a apartment, and Thor's just being like this douchey kind of guy. And those were hilarious because it was Chris Hemsworth playing Thor, and he's got like a little bed for Mjolnir, and he's got like all his like stickers on the wall trying to work out who's the guy with the Infinity Gauntlet, and just being ridiculous. And it was the Civil War playoff where he's like, can you call Tony Stark and tell him that I'm interested, I can be on his team. But that is the Thor essentially probably like 90% that Thor is the Thor that's in the movie.
Okay. The silly Thor.
Yeah, silly Thor. So that's one thing, and that's funny and good and is the best part of the movie. Is just the quirkiness to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then also at the same time, it's juxtaposed by Hela coming in and doing Ragnarok, which is essentially
The end of days.
times.
Yeah.
And destroying Asgard and setting it on fire and killing people. And there's this weird juxtaposition between the laughs and that seriousness. And never has any of the Thor movies gotten to that level where this amount of destruction and tragedies happened. And it doesn't really focus on that. It's still kind of like these things are happening and it's horrible, but it's more on the life side.
See, that's exactly my concern. Because when they were like, it's Thor Ragnarok, I'm like, holy fuck, this is going to be awesome, right? It's the end of days, the end of all things, fuck.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's what trailers, and it's like, they're trying to do a Guardians of the Galaxy thing. So that's my concern. Does it feel like they've gone, with the success of this, we need to pivot it in this direction? Or does it feel that this is how it was meant to be?
It feels like it's definitely a take that Taika Waititi has kind of gone for.
Okay.
And I think everyone was becoming like just stale with what they were doing. Chris Hemsworth was sick of, having the long hair and playing the stoic kind of Thor. And Anthony Hopkins thought he was dead at the end of the last movie, so didn't expect to come back. So I think everybody was getting a bit tired of it. And it's like the fifth, sixth, depending on if you include post-credit scenes where Chris Hemsworth played Thor. And so they really kind of needed to change it up. Thor was never the big draw of the movies. And the first one was good and the second one was all right. But they thought, like, what can we do to change it up? And I think it worked in this favor. I mean, it is a straight up, I'd say, comedy first. And it's fun and it's fast paced and it moves quickly and there's a lot of action scenes in it and colorful set design. Everything looks like a Jack Kirby comic from the 1960s and 70s. Everybody's got a unique style. It does feel very Guardians of the Galaxy in the color palette and things like that. And it's good. That is a good thing. But it is a big departure from what you would be expecting with Thor. But I don't think anybody's, aside from like some hardcore fans, are really like, oh no, I don't like what they've done. It's kind of like, yeah, we'll roll the punches and see where it goes.
Yeah, so kind of like, I understand Thor was never like the most entertaining of them all, but I thought that worked to his sort of favor. And having him come in and be stupid, it kind of puts me off. I think it works well. I mean, the thing is, I don't know if they felt that Thor wasn't strong enough that they'd had to add the Hulk into it as well. And this thing about that is, again, in the trailers, you see the Hulk and he's talking and things like that, and that's a big surprise as well, which would have been a good kind of surprise. It seems like everything is a surprise, but you've already seen it. And the issue with the Hulk in it is that pretty much every single scene in the trailers that feature the Hulk is in the movie, but it's just that scene. Like there's like 4 or 5 or 6 times you see the Hulk in the trailer, and it's a shot from this scene and a shot from this scene, and he's only in those 6 scenes. And they're long scenes, and there's bits you don't see, but essentially you know where to expect him and what's going to happen. But that was cool. The idea that they made the Hulk a character on his own, like the Hulk is a character and Banner's a character, and they're not the same person. Essentially, like he doesn't know what Hulk's doing when he's hulked out. And Hulk doesn't like Banner because he's brainy and weak and stops him from doing what he wants to do. So that was cool to see that smart Hulk into it finally. There's Tom Hiddleston returns as Loki, still doing his Loki pokey kind of stuff. Still being one of the most interesting characters in Thor.
Yeah, he's still good. He's still dicking around. Betrays everybody every 5 seconds. There's a new character, Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson from Creed. She is like an Asgardian that's stuck on this planet as well and kind of drunk and given up on life and things like that. So she's just like hanging out, bounty hunting. Any
particular reason why there's 2 Asgardians on the one planet? Like, is that where they just get dumped?
Well, Sakaar, the planet that they end up on, is like the dumping ground of the universe.
Okay.
So I think it's called the Devil's Anus or something is the portal to get out. So it's just a garbage planet where anything in the galaxy just gets thrown and collected for garbage. And the Grandmaster, which is the Grandmaster, Jeff Goldblum, he runs the place. and so he uses this kind of gladiatorial fights as entertainment. And yeah, it's just like this garbage planet.
Is Jeff Goldblum golden it?
Yeah, he's just Jeff Goldblum, just being Jeff Goldblum, like amped up to 12. Like he's just being weird, and because a lot of the movie had a story and plot to it, but they improvise a lot of the movie. So I think they said about 80% of the movie is improvised.
That's dangerous.
In that they tell you what the scene's about, and then you just
they're like, we want you to hit this beat.
Yeah,
how you
get this point across. Yeah, so there's a lot of that and there's sometimes where it feels very like that. It sounds like a stupid story. Like, why would you talk about that? But Chris Hemsworth's very funny. You saw him in like Ghostbusters and Vacation, kind of bringing in the humor. And it works well in his favor. I like the kind of douchey Thor, but then there's very little times when it's serious. There's like maybe 2 scenes where it's serious, and the rest of the time it's like wacky. And it starts like that, straight out, just like funny, and Thor just being cocky and it is a big departure of what you used to seeing. With Kate Blanchett as Hela, she's the villain. Like, she's good, but she's just doing villainy stuff, doing speeches, cutting to a stunt woman fighting, and then it comes back to her like, oh, I just did this. Carl Urban's in it. He plays the executioner, and he's taken over from Heimdall, looking after the gateway to the
what happened to Heimdall?
Rainbow Bridge. He's hiding in the forest fighting the resistance. But yeah, he's pretty funny. He's like he starts off as like just a dick, and then he becomes like Hela's evil side henchman, and then he kind of like has a crisis of conscience. He's pretty much having that through the whole movie. So he's an interesting character in there. Spends a fair amount of time on him with Carl Urban. And there's a lot of like twists and turns and surprises. There's a lot of changes or things that happen that have a big impact on the future of the cinematic universe, and it does.
I was going to say, because I always thought Ragnarok was going to be like the big stepping stone to Infinity.
Yeah, and it is, and it isn't really. Essentially, like with or at least with Iron Man 3, it kind of wrapped up Iron Man's story, where he took the arc reactor out, he threw it into the ocean, all his suits were destroyed. It was kind of like, if his contract ended, that would be the end of Iron Man.
Which at the time that was scheduled to be the case.
Exactly. And it feels a little bit like that with Thor as well, where it's like, it's the end of his contract, just go nuts and do whatever we want, and if you don't like it, come back
to Infinity, and then
essentially it kind of feels like that. So that was interesting. But I'd still say definitely go and see it. It's fun, it moves quickly, you get a lot of laughs. It's good to see the old characters return. There's a lot of little surprises in there as well. Pretty much everyone comes back from the Thor universe, other than the Earth kind of bound people. It's a spoiler. I can't go into that. Oh. But yeah, what else did I want to kind of cover in spoiler terms?
Spoiler-free terms.
Spoiler-free terms. The other thing in it is that it does kind of take the Planet Hulk story into it.
Yeah.
So, not really. It does and it doesn't. It would have been better to maybe see the Planet Hulk story as its own thing. It's a bit of a cheat.
The problem with like the universal rights.
Yeah, the rights and things like that. So there's a few nods to that, whereas in the gladiatorial outfit, he's fighting in the arena. There's a couple of characters, Korg and Meek, that are from Planet Hulk. They're slightly different here, but one of them's played by Taika Waititi.
Oh, cool.
And he is hilarious. He is this rock monster with just a normal Kiwi accent. And so anytime he speaks, it's hilarious because you're not used to hearing a Kiwi accent in these kind of movies. So
apparently it's loaded with a lot of Aussie and New Zealand-based humour.
There's a lot of New Zealand actors in it. And like the Grandmaster's side henchman is like this woman, like this like kind of chubby Maori woman in her late 50s, and she's been in a lot of Taika Waititi's movies, and she's really funny, just like deadpan and serious, and you see her flying a spaceship and you're just like, this actress would never be in a movie like this. It's weird. There's a lot of ships that are named after Australian cars. I think there's a Commodore and there's Kingswood is the name on that. I didn't pick up on that at first, but I'm like, oh yeah. But the Korg character, Taika Waititi said he likened it to like a Maori bouncer, where they're like these big, huge fuck off guys, but they're really soft dudes, smoking. Yeah, nice. So he's like, "Hey, bro, what's going on?" And Thor kind of is talking to him, and there's this scene where Loki like does his thing where he's not really there. He like teleports in kind of thing, and he's a hologram. And there's this scene between Thor and Loki, and they have this moment together. And then Loki disappears, and there's this long pause, and then the rock monster runs in out of nowhere and kicks where he was. He's like, what he say? He says, "Piss off, ghost!" and like kicks the wall. And I'm just like, "Piss off, ghost" is hilarious. And every scene he's in, he just says something. So he's like, he just talks about it. Matter of fact, like Thor's talking about his hammer being broken, and he's like, "Oh, so they're picking weapons to fight in the gladiatorial thing." He's like, "Look at this. This is like a stick with like three sticks on it. If you fought a vampire and they're all standing close together, it would be really good." And then he's talking about, I had a hammer, and he's like, "Oh, what was that like?" And he's like, "Oh, I would pull me off and fly in the sky, and I could fly." He's like, You pulled your hammer off. It pulled you off. That's just weird." And he's like, "Did it go on your back and then you fly on it?" And he's like, "No, I just float and it'll pull me along." And he's like, "So you rode it?" And he's like, No. So okay, and just has these ridiculous kind of tangents that he goes on. So
you piqued my interest with this character.
Yeah, Korg's awesome. And
So-
the same, everybody has those kind of moments.
Before we jump into some spoilers, you want to give some final thoughts?
Yeah, if you're just looking for fun, go and see it. You'll be entertained. It doesn't. It does and it does. It's kind of like a standalone movie you can watch and enjoy it. You don't really have to have seen the other Thors. I mean, I guess it is. It is and it isn't. Everybody kind of explains who I am and this is what I do in case you haven't seen it. But really, it's just like a fun ride that you go and watch, and it's colourful and exciting, and you don't really have to think about it too much. You don't really have to kind of know all the ins and outs of the Marvel Universe. It's just like a fun Guardians of the Galaxy sci-fi kind of movie.
Okay. Now, because you've kind of piqued my interest in it, we don't want to go too spoiler.
Yes, we're going to go crazy spoiler.
Crap. Okay. Spoilers. Okay, so how does it push into Infinity War?
Well, that'll be end spoilers.
Oh, is that super spoilers?
Not really. No, that doesn't really. They end up in a spaceship through circumstances, and then right at the end, in the post-credit scene, a giant spaceship turns up, and you assume that that's Thanos' ship. So they end up in.
Is that literally it?
That's the only Thanos reference in it. Yeah.
Because there's still one more stone to get.
Yeah, it could be in Black Panther.
Because apart from Black Panther, there's nothing left.
Yeah, and Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel's after.
Yeah, is that before Infinity War though?
No, it's after. So it's Black Panther and now Infinity War.
Well, you'd like to think that he has it before that comes along, but
well, he's got to collect them all up. That's probably the first one. But there are some cool things, semi-spoilery, like Doctor Strange is in it. He's in the trailer. Though.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing some
and that's really funny. He's only in it for about 10 minutes.
Is it just sort of a on-the-spot cameo sort of thing?
Kind of. It kind of organically works into the movie, but it's kind of like pushing the plot forward as well. And Thor kind of meets Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is like teleporting between rooms to rooms, looking for information from the library and looking at things. And so Thor keeps jumping between rooms to room, and that's really funny. And he's like, why did you bring your brother here? Like, I take care of like supernatural things on this planet Earth, and I'm here to protect it. So he like captures Loki. And he's like, what's your intentions here? And he's like, oh, we're just stopping by. We're going to leave. So he's like, all right, cool. You can go then. But he's like, well, why didn't you contact me before you took him away? He's like, well, how do I contact you? And he's like, have you heard of something called email? Electronic mail? And Dr. Strange's like, do you have a computer? And he's like, what for? And he's just like, what? Because he said email, but he doesn't know how email works. There's some cool cameos. Like there's this sequence because Loki took over Odin's throne in the last one. So he goes back to Asgard to see Odin. Odin's drunk and just fucking around. Anthony Hopkins is having a good time. And he's like, oh, fuck. Thor's back. And he's like, hey, Thor, what's going on? And they have a play like in Game of Thrones. Remember where they had the story of Joffrey?
It was telling the story.
Yeah, and it's obviously Loki set this play up, and it's like telling the story of when Loki died and how legendary he died and all this. And Sam Neill plays Odin in the play from Jurassic Park.
No way.
So there's Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill. They don't have the same scene together, but they're in the same movie. And Luke Hemsworth plays Thor in the play. So he's like this shorter version of his brother. And Matt Damon plays Loki.
No.
Yeah, for like 2 seconds. So that's pretty interesting.
How'd they get Damon into one of these?
I don't know. He's in the Marvel universe.
Hell yeah, that's really cool.
What else? there is some weird things about the marketing of the movie. So, there's no spoilers in the trailer. There's a scene where Thor throws his hammer and Hela catches it and then breaks it, and it's in some kind of alleyway in New York or somewhere like that. In the movie, though, it's in the open field, and he throws it and she catches it and breaks it. So it's a completely different setting, and it's a different take as well. It's not the same thing, and they just digitally changed the background. But another thing about that is that there's a scene where they go to like Norway and they meet Odin. They're talking to Odin, and it looks like they're like completely on a green screen cut out, and they're not really there. So it makes me wonder if they reshot that scene completely. I don't know what the purpose of it was.
Has this director been the same director for the whole project?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me think differently, because like with the sort of the tone of what they're doing.
In the way that like Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or even the Han Solo, where I think they shot 90% of the movie again.
Yeah, which that's what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, is that why there's these really obvious different tone? Like, so okay, here's another question. In Age of Ultron,
yes,
when like Thor gets super shit faced and hangs out in a pool, is that linked into this at all?
Not really. Oh, kind of.
So then that scene. So if you were to watch all of them, that would make even less sense now.
I'd have to go back and watch the Ultron scene again because I can't really remember it. But I remember getting in a pool and then he's talking to Heimdall.
Yeah, and Heimdall like fucks him up in the pool. Yeah.
And then he's like, Ragnarok's coming.
Yeah.
So Ragnarok did come, so he was right. And Heimdall is off running around doing his own thing. I think he's in a different movie. He's playing it very serious. And he's kind of gathering the people of Asgard and protecting them, because Hela comes over and she just like sits on the throne. She's like, fucking shit up. I'm going to take over. Worship me. And so he's sneaking people out. And so he's in his like own serious kind of movie, and then everyone else is in their jokey kind of movie. And essentially it ends up being that all the people in like this, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings in the Two Towers, where they got all the people in the thing, and then the Helm's Deep, and they all come and attack. Maybe 500 people exist on Asgard in this thing, and it's the 500 people that survive of the entire thing. And essentially Odin, because Thor's hammer breaks, and Odin tells him that the hammer was just something you could channel your power with. It was like a way to focus your energy. The power of Asgard is, it's not a place, it's a people. That's what he says. So Asgard can be destroyed, but as long as the people live on, Asgard will live on. Yet Hela draws her power from Asgard. So if Asgard isn't a place and it's a people, as long as the people are still alive, then she should still have power. But then their plan is to destroy Asgard, so she loses her power. Explain that one. And the other thing is, so when Thor first gets to Sakaar, they put a little thing in his neck to kind of keep him under control, like the bolt that they have in Star Wars and the droids. And he gets like this little remote that they zap him, and he kind of gets electrocuted every time he tries to escape. And he's the god of thunder, but this thing controls him. And then I'm like, but he's the god of like thunder, like lightning surges through his body. How is getting zapped slightly affecting him?
Right, well, it's an inconvenience, really.
You could just like suck the power in and just fry. It doesn't make logical sense there. Not that you expect it would. And another thing that's mildly spoilery, but not really, is in the trailer there's scenes where she says, "What are you the god of?" And he's like, and then he charges up and he's got the thunder going through him. And the end half of the movie is him fighting. And very early towards the third act, Hela just randomly cuts his eye out. So he's missing his right eye.
Thor's missing an eye.
Yeah, so Thor's right eye is missing for about the last half an hour of the movie. And all the parts in the trailer he has the eye are the same parts in the movie where he doesn't have the eye.
Interesting.
And then in the
because that makes sense. That'd be a huge thing to put in a trailer.
Well, yeah, and I think the issue is the reason that the Avengers Infinity War trailer isn't officially released yet is because the trailer of Infinity War starts with Thor floating in space and the Guardians find him.
Yeah.
And he has both eyes in the trailer. Yet he wouldn't in the revised version of it. So it's a spoiler that they didn't want to give away. So he's kind of got an eye patch now like Odin.
Interesting. And Natalie Portman?
No Natalie Portman.
What?
No, Natalie Portman. No Kat Dennings, no Stellan Skarsgård. None of that shit. Get that out of there. You're out.
They just look like you were like, hey, am I coming back for the third one? Like, no, no.
Yeah. I'm busy not doing anything. Cool. All right. Keep it real.
Damn.
Go hang out with Hugo Weaving. Not be in the movies. Terrence Howard. Yeah, but I think that pretty much covers most of the things. I mean, the other thing is the Warriors 3 are in it. So, Volstaff and other guy, the Asian guy. Lady Sif isn't in it for reasons that she couldn't film her scenes, so they didn't put her in it.
Oh, really?
So, but the Warriors 3, literally, it seems to be like, everything in all those other movies, we don't give a shit. So, as soon as Hela turns up, she kills the Warriors 3 in like a second. All these people you've invested in, gone. And then Asgard gets blown up completely. And so the worst possible things in the world that could happen. And yet it's still like, lighthearted comedy.
And that's my concern. Like, my concern is they would graze over Ragnarok. They'd graze over Planet Hulk. And just be like, we touched it. Guardians.
Well, it's kind of like, I want to make this movie and it's going to be fun and quirky and weird with these characters. And yeah, we'll throw Planet Hulk in. And yeah, it'll cut back to Hela doing evil things in a normal kind of Marvel movie. But we really want to make this movie. And that movie's really good. But it's just kind of strange tone that the absolutely worst possible thing that could ever happen in the history of Marvel movies. Like, things, people die and there's no coming back from it. And you get your eye ripped out and, your best friends die. And he doesn't even ever address it to like, where are my friends? Oh, they're dead. Oh, sad. He's just not sad. He's just like, I'm on an adventure. Keep moving. Plot's moving.
That's my concern is, like with Kevin, like Kevin Feige's had a reasonably tight leash on the brand at this point, right? And where this direction's going. It's like, okay, cool. It's all heading in the right direction, and this kind of go.
Yeah, it's kind of like nobody cares about Thor anyway, so might as well. Yeah,
but like it kind of to me, like I look at it like it ruins everything they're trying to do. Now, don't get me wrong, because it's like I'm honestly think I'm pretty burnt out by superhero movies at this point, and not because they're not funny, because they're all the same, and then this is literally more of the same on the other side.
Well, the different things that it tries to do are good. The part where it kind of stays true to all the other things is where it kind of fails a little bit.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, I'm just the juxtaposition of such big, momentous things happening. Like in Thor 2, when Thor's mother died, that was really impactful.
That was huge.
And you're like, whoa, like they're really taking a risk. Here, they do 10 times those things. And it's like, oh, that happened. But now we're laughing about something else. Like,
see, it's funny, like with the whole pivot towards that's like Marvel movies have always been not dark, lightish, and now they're like hard pivot to funny. I'm like, I'm keen for Justice League where it's serious.
Wait, is it though? Now that's gonna be funny.
I'd be so bummed if it's funny.
It's gonna be funny if it's good or bad.
For a whole different reason.
Oh, all sorts. But yeah, that's essentially Thor Ragnarok.
Have you seen Thor Ragnarok? If you have, comment below. Let us know what you thought. Did you like the tone? Did you like that one-eyed Hemsworth? Sessions begin every Friday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and all podcast platforms. If you want to join the conversation, head to facebook.com/groups/the PopCulturists, or even the Discord channel. Link is in the